Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing some of the adventures I had in the end of August. Made a trip up to Squam Lake and had an incredible time with my family. I did some sketching, I did a lot of exploring and a lot of swimming, and I'm going to share some of the sketches as well as some of the process behind some of the more finished pieces that I have been working on. So I hope you have a nice cup of coffee and you can sit down and enjoy this little walk through my last trip, which was just so much fun. So Squam Lake is a special place for me. I went there first when I was a kid with my grandparents, and I went back to the same camp where I had been growing up, and it has not changed. And so I was thrilled to get outside, to do some hiking, and to do some exploring. I got up a rattlesnake, which if anybody's from the area is an easy, well, it's not easy. It's actually kind of straight up, but it's an easy hike in that it's very short. And then you get up to this amazing view. That's me. Hi, everybody. The whole area is just so beautiful, and I had so much fun trying to capture as much of it as I could in my sketchbooks, whether it was with pastel crayons or with paint. I had my gouache out, and so I really just soaked in the views. And today I'm actually going to do this picture from my studio with acrylic gouache. So I would love if you want to follow along. I decided to do this as a time lapse just because it probably took me over an hour to actually complete this piece in my sketchbook. And, that's from start to finish, including the sketch that you see me doing right now. I'm pulling out my palettes, which are sort of crusty and dirty, but they really do work to keep my paints fresh and just always available. I did start out with a pencil sketch in this one. I don't always, but I decided that I really wanted to try to stay relatively true to the reference photo, which was at the beginning of the sequence, which you can see if you go back a little bit in this video. And I just wanted to try to get it, somewhat abstract, but relatively close to what I was, what I had experienced that day up on the ridge. So I'm definitely going for that atmospheric perspective by having kind of the dark muted colors towards the back, and having the colors become much more vibrant and bright moving towards the front. And that's why I've chosen the colors that I have chosen in this one. I am likely covering up a lot of the original sketch that I did. But that's okay. That's not a problem. I've kind of, the sketch helps me figure out and block in the big areas. And it's okay if I have to go back and, figure things out again. I usually can see little traces of what I have done. And so that's something that you'll see me do a lot in these sketches. Right now you can see me kind of playing with how to make the value of the water itself, of the lake, much brighter. I go back in, it's sort of a little too cool, then I make it a little bit warmer, then I make it cooler again, trying to figure out how blue to make it because it was almost a gray, but definitely tending towards blue. I also had a fairly dramatic sky the day that I was there, and so I'm going back in to make those clouds a little bit more exciting. And once I've got the big areas in, I'm going back to create the trees. I'm staying sort of close to the reference that I gave you guys, but I also am not afraid to go a little bit out of bounds and not make it, exactly 100% what I was seeing, but relatively close. And again, I'm trying to mix a variety of greens. I've gone right over that island that was behind this tree, and that's okay too. And I'm trying to just block in and give more texture to everything that's going on here. Full disclosure, I don't love the way I was working on the tree on the right, and you'll see me make some changes after the fact to go back in and actually put more visible water and make that shape a bit more irregular. I don't love the way it is so triangular, but this is all part of the process and why working at Sketchbook is so much fun. You can try different things, and sometimes you get it 100% right and sometimes you don't. I do like the shadows against the sides of the islands and on the shore on the far side, and so I went back in and tried to do some of those darks because I think that adds another element of depth to the picture. So now I'm going back in with some highlights and playing with the foliage, which is actually sort of below me. So I think one of the biggest challenges of this particular picture for me was getting that perspective of looking down from above, both in terms of the distant hills, and you can see me adding some light to the water, wanting to show some of that incredible luminosity that was coming through that day. Looking for those, normally it would be sky holes. If you're looking up at a tree, you'll see elements of sky, but in this case, it is actually water holes coming through the tree where you're looking down, so you're seeing echoes of the lake through the trees, and I was trying to capture that and play with that. So that's my final piece. You'll see in the next one, there it is. I've actually played with and thinned out some of the branches. And that was my main sort of takeaway. This is now just a flip through. While I was actually up on the mountain, I decided to just do a quick sketchbook tour of all the things I've done. Of course, when you go to Squam Lake, you have to draw loons. That is just required. They're these beautiful, beautiful Duck Lake birds, and they have a really incredible cry. That was an initial sketch of this view, which we have just painted together. So if you ever get a chance to get up to Squam Lake, I highly recommend it. I know there are also some art workshops that are hosted there from time to time. I was just there on my own with my family, and I did a lot of swimming, but I still managed to cram in a lot of art. So I hope everybody has a wonderful early September and that the summer ended well for you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe. It gives me a sense of, if the content that I'm sharing here is relevant and interesting. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.